This is baby Avril.
It was so cute.
Her Burlington grandmother, Danette Scott, has spent the last few weeks glued to these fleeting memories.
She says, no, I'm going to crawl and find a dog somewhere.
The memories are all she has left.
Yeah, I miss her.
3 weeks ago, 1-year-old Avril died from suspected exposure to fentanyl. According to the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office, Avril was staying with her 37-year-old mother, where fentanyl was being smoked when the child became unresponsive.
The CT scan showed the worst possible brain damage. It was the worst day of my life.
Worst of all, Danette says she worked for months trying to prevent this tragedy.
Because in this case, there was a clear path to protect this child and keep this baby alive. I knew this was going to happen.
She says it all started last December while her daughter and Avril were staying at her Burlington home.
We had started to see drug activity. My spidey sense was going up.
The grandmother says she made a call to CPS after she caught her daughter using fentanyl around the young child.
I needed somebody to help me make sure that the baby was safe, and so that's why I called CPS. I was trying to protect Avril from fentanyl.
Medical toxicologists say even a small amount of fentanyl is especially lethal to kids. It's 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. The Department of Children, Youth and Families, DCYF, responded to Danette's CPS report. She says they sent a social worker to visit the home, who tested Avril's mom for drugs and told Danette the results.
She told me she tested positive for fentanyl.
Danette hoped that news would lead to action, but she says CPS didn't do enough.
This would have been a wonderful place for her to stay until her mom got better. So what good did CPS do? Nothing.
The baby and her mom quickly left the family home, according to Danette. And a few months later, CPS closed the case.
I was just blown away.
CPS records show the agency knew fentanyl was still a problem for the family when they closed it. The caseworker reminded Avril's mother that fentanyl is extremely dangerous, encouraging her to think of Avril's safety if she chose to use.
How's that supposed to be safe? Shock turned to just fury and,
Less than 2 months later, Avril was dead. A DCYF spokesperson declined to comment on the case, but says the agency will conduct a review of the girl's death. In cases like Avril's, where substance abuse is a concern, child welfare experts say the state's CPS workers can only do so much. A new state law called the Keeping Families Together Act significantly changes how child protection workers can respond. It raises the standard of what's required to remove a child from the home.
Recognizing that it's harmful to remove children from their home, that it has a disproportional adverse impact of Black children and families and Native American children and families.
Under the law, a parent's struggle with drug addiction is no longer a sufficient reason alone. Caseworkers have to prove to the courts that physical harm is imminent, and they must offer services to families. The law officially takes effect in July, but child welfare workers say the courts have already started operating under the new rules.
I'm incredibly worried.
Danette Scott is a CPS supervisor and the chair of a statewide policy committee for the union that represents thousands of DCYF employees.
We're already seeing children return to situations that we firmly believe are unsafe and without enough protection in place to keep those children safe. I'm very worried that kids are going to be seriously harmed or even die.
She says the policy change has led some DCYF employees to resign from the agency because they don't feel confident they can keep kids safe.
The pendulum has swung so far.
Especially as the department continues to see a rise in cases of young kids accidentally ingesting fentanyl.
So that's something that our office will be looking at.
DCYF Ombuds Patrick Dowd says his office is keenly aware of the concerns.
I think that it will leave children at greater risk in some circumstances, but then I also recognize that there's the balance with what's the harm by removing children at times unnecessarily.
He says his office is prepared to look for unintended consequences. It's one of the reasons why he's been tracking DCYF's critical incidents involving children and fentanyl. His data shows that since last year, fentanyl-related incidents nearly killed at least 38 kids who had prior contact with CPS, and another 18 children died.
We will have situations where CPS or law enforcement or the court, they don't have the legal threshold to take action. Does that mean they think everything is fine? No. We should have a different approach to engaging families when there are allegations of substance use with fentanyl.
I don't get to taste it yet.
Back in Burlington,
Heart-wrenching that I won't be able to see her again.
there's one memory of Avril Danette wishes she could forget.
Before I told her goodbye.
This is the last time she saw her granddaughter, surrounded by medical staff, helping her breathe.
So I just went down and, kissed her. And then I just told her, it's time to go.
In Burlington, Taylor Muir-Fendereski, King 5 News.
We reached out to Avril's mom and she declined to speak with us. We are not naming her tonight because she hasn't been charged with a crime. The Snohomish County Sheriff's Office tells us they're investigating Avril's death and treating her mom as a suspect. Meanwhile, DCYF says that new state law creates an even more urgent need for substance abuse treatment services across the state.